You know that feeling, right? You're stuck in traffic, absolutely fuming. Or maybe you're replaying some comment someone made, that low-grade hum of anxiety that something's just off. And what do? We point the finger out there, at the world, at that person, at the situation. We think, man, if only that would change, I'd finally have some peace. But what if we've been aiming our frustration in the completely wrong direction this whole time? I mean, really think about it. What if the source of all that suffering isn't the external world at all? Now, that's a simple question, but it's pretty radical, right? And as we're going to unpack in this explainer, the answer to that question, well, it might just change everything for you. Because here's the kicker. The problem isn't reality. It never was. It's the unquestioned story we tell ourselves about what's happening. And look, this isn't about slapping on a happy face or some kind of positive thinking. It's not about changing who you are. It's about what happens when you just pause and you start to question the thoughts that you've been living inside of maybe your whole life. So this brings us to the heart of the matter, to the core conflict that honestly generates pretty much all of our psychological stress. And we can call it the war with reality. It's this constant, absolutely exhausting battle between what is and what our minds are screaming should be. Okay, so let's break this down, because it really shows the two opposing forces at play. On one side, you've got reality. Just what is. It's neutral. It's totally innocent. And you know what? It's already happened. It's done. And if we can just see it clearly, that's where peace is. But then you've got the other side, the mind story. And that story is judgmental, it's demanding, and it is constantly arguing with the past. That's where the conflict lives. That's where the suffering comes from. All right, so if the conflict is happening inside of us, then who or what is actually causing all this pain? It's a great question. Let's turn to some of the great thinkers on this very subject and see what they have to say, because their ideas really converge on this one crucial point. First up, Eckhart Tolle. He puts it so simply, it's brilliant. He says, suffering is resistance. That's it. It's just the friction that gets created when our mind refuses to accept the present moment. You know, think about being stuck in traffic again. The traffic itself, it's just cars on a road. It's neutral. The suffering, that comes from our mental argument against it. That voice in your head screaming, this shouldn't be happening to me right now.
Now, Jiddu Krishnamurti, he adds another layer to this. He says that this resistance does more than just cause friction. It actually fragments the mind. It literally creates an internal division, a war with itself. And that fragmentation, that split right down the middle, that's what we experience as pain.
So, what about from a scientific perspective? Well, neuroscientist Sam Harris brings that to the table. He reminds us that our brains are basically story-making machines. They just automatically generate thoughts, one after another. Suffering kicks in when we fuse with those thoughts, when we believe them without any examination at all. You know, the raw sensation of an event is often way less painful than the heavy story we layer on top of it. Okay, so if these stories are the source of so much pain, why on earth do we defend them so fiercely? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? Well, this brings us to a really powerful and deeply personal reason: our identity. I love this definition from Naval Ravikant. He calls identity a role you forgot you chose. Think about that. We build these stories around roles we play: the victim, the hero, the successful one, the failure, and we defend them to the death because we start to believe they are us. We completely forget that we're the ones who put on the costume in the first place. And a huge part of defending that identity is this deep, burning need to be right. But let me tell you, that need comes at a seriously steep price. The therapist Esther Perel talks about this a lot. In our relationships, that need to be right, it often completely stomps out the desire to be connected. And what's the result? Lost intimacy, blocked curiosity, because hey, we already have all the answers, right? Constant stress. And we end up living in this state of defensive vulnerability. It's exhausting. So here we are, stuck in this painful war with reality, defending these stories that are all tied up in our identity. So what's the way out? How do we break free? Well, it's not some complicated system or a new belief you have to adopt. It's actually much simpler than that. It's a single, incredibly powerful question. Here it is. This is the question at the very center of Byron Katie's work. The next time you're in the grip of a stressful thought, you know the ones: he doesn't respect me, or I'm definitely going to fail, or that just shouldn't have happened. The invitation is to just pause, take a breath, and ask yourself with real, genuine curiosity, is it true? Now, asking this question starts to lead you toward acceptance. But hold on, because acceptance is a super misunderstood word. Let's be really clear what it is and what it isn't. Acceptance is simply seeing what is actually here. It's clarity. It is absolutely not approving of what happened. It's not weakness or passivity or giving up on change. Far from it. It's the end of the war with reality, and that's what actually frees you up to act more effectively. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, made this distinction so beautifully. He said acceptance is an act of power. It's looking reality square in the eye and not flinching. Resignation, that's the opposite. That's giving up your power. It's surrendering the possibility of finding any meaning, even when things are incredibly difficult.
And all of this leads us to our final and honestly most empowering realization of all. Peace is an inside job. It's about shifting our focus entirely. We stop trying to control the world out there and we start trying to understand our own minds in here.
And this isn't some new idea. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus laid out a super practical guide for this over 2,000 years ago. It's a simple three-step process. 1. Figure out what is actually in your control. That's your own thoughts, your judgments, your intentions. 2. Recognize what is not in your control. And that's a big list. External events, other people, the past, and then the crucial third step. Focus all of your energy only on what you can control. That's it. That is the direct path to peace.
And I have to say this again because it's so important. This is not about blaming ourselves for our suffering. It is the absolute opposite of that. Taking responsibility for our inner experience, that's about reclaiming the power to change that experience from the inside out. It is the ultimate form of empowerment.
Because in the end, peace isn't something you have to go out and build or achieve. It's actually our natural state. It's what's already there, just waiting underneath all those stressful stories we tell ourselves. When we finally stop fighting with what is, when that internal war with reality finally ends, peace is just what's left. So you don't need some grand plan or a massive life overhaul to start this. It's much simpler. Just notice the next stressful thought that pops into your head. And instead of automatically believing it, just meet it with a little bit of curiosity. Ask that one simple question and just see what happens. So I'll leave you with this. What's one stressful thought you're ready to question today?